is starting a new chapter today, the knot of matter. Just to place you what he is discussing, all the characteristics of matter, because he wants to establish the connection of matter in the world to Sat at the highest level. Satchidananda, Sat becomes matter here. That's what he is doing in several chapters. So now in this chapter he is going to tell you how the matter is almost the opposite of spirit, and how it obstructs spiritual life. That's what he's going to give you, all the the difficulties of matter. I cannot travel to the truth of the luminous Lord by force or by the duality. Who are they that protect the foundation of the falsehood? Who are the guardians of the unreal word? Then existence was not, nor non-existence. The middle world was not, nor the ether, nor what is beyond. What covered all? Where was it? In whose refuge? What was that ocean, dense and deep? Death was not, nor immortality, nor the knowledge of day and night. That one lived without breath of his self-law. There was nothing else, nor aught beyond it. In the beginning, darkness was hidden by darkness. All this was an ocean of inconscience. When universal being was concealed by fragmentation, then by the greatness of its energy, that one was born. That moved at first as desire within, which was the primal seed of mind. The seers of truth discovered the building of being in non-being, by will in the heart and by the thought. Their ray was extended horizontally. But what was there below? What was there above? There were casters of the seed. There were greatnesses. There was self-law below. There was will above. From the Rig Veda.
The famous Nasadiya Sutra.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the beginning of creation. Only the inconscience was there everywhere. Dense. Darkness was covered by darkness, he's saying. That Sri Aurobindo quotes very often. Okay? Where is it? Yeah, in the beginning, darkness was hidden by darkness. Nothing existed except the one. So, we start reading the text. If then the conclusion at which we have arrived is correct, and there is no other possible on the data upon which we are working, the sharp division which practical experience and long habit of mind have created between spirit and matter has no longer any fundamental reality. The world is a differentiated unity, a manifold oneness, not a constant attempt at compromise between eternal dissonances, not an everlasting struggle between irreconcilable opposites. An inalienable oneness generating infinite variety is its foundation and beginning. A constant reconciliation behind apparent division and struggle, combining all possible disparates for vast ends in a secret consciousness and will, which is ever one and master of all its own complex action, appears to be its real character in the middle. We must assume, therefore, that a fulfillment of the emerging will and consciousness and a triumphant harmony must be its conclusion. Substance is the form of itself on which it works. And of that substance, if matter is one end, spirit is the other. The two are one. Spirit is the soul and reality of that which we sense as matter. Matter is a form and body of that which we realize as spirit. So, fairly simple, unless there is something which is not very clear. If then the conclusion at which we have arrived is correct, here's what he's saying is that Sat, Chit, Ananda and the physical world are really the same in two different poles. But there is a diminution and a degradation and a deformation. So, matter is nothing but Sat, which has been diminished, degraded and also a little twisted and perversified, if you want. I mean, I'm inventing a word, okay, which is made perverse, okay. So, if then the conclusion at which we have arrived is correct, and there is no other possible on the data which upon which we are working, the sharp division which practical experience and long habit of mind have created between spirit and matter has no longer any fundamental reality. It's a usual idea that matter and spirit are opposites, and in India for a long time the idea was, if you want God, leave the physical world. But if you want to remain in the physical world, you have to give up God. In Synthesis of Yoga also he says that very clearly. So it's a choice between the two. Here he comes and says that no, there is a third choice. You can remain in the physical world and yet have a divine consciousness. Okay? So now he's saying the world is a differentiated unity. Now, we have to understand. We are seeing different forms here, but behind all the forms, if you are a little careful and you will see, this unity is showing itself in everything. In every species, there is a unity of the species. Okay? In every body, all our bodies are actually matter. If you think of them as different forms of matter, you will see that there is unity hiding behind the multiplicity. That's what he's saying, differentiate unity. The unity is there and is differentiated. Okay, so... Okay, clear? A manifold oneness. A oneness expressing itself in many forms. Okay? And not a constant attempt at compromise between eternal dissonances. The world is not a compromise between eternal dissonances. What are the eternal dissonances in the world he's talking about? The dualities. The dualities are there because when the divine is, this is something we have to understand. The nature of the world is dualities and movement and multiplicity. These three are very characteristic of the world. Movement. Nothing is stable in the physical world. At the atomic level, everything is moving. Then, manifoldness, the multiplicity, that is also there always. And the third one is, what were you saying? Forms are also there. These are all the characteristics of matter. Okay? Yes, dualities. We are talking about dualities. When the divine is creating everything in the physical world, if we take only one element to understand the phenomenon of dualities, it's easy to understand with light. Okay? You take only light. He is creating light. Will he create light only of one intensity? No. He will create of many multiple intensities. But does he stop only at a particular range? No reason for that. So he goes infinitely positive side, infinitely negative side. So you have the whole range beginning from infinite plus to infinite minus. That's why dualities are there in this physical world. And everything, to every thing that you see in the physical world, there is an equal and opposite which is equally valid at this level. That's what that duality is. So when he's talking of eternal dissonances, he's meaning the dualities. They are always there in the physical world. If there is hot, there is cold. If there is good, there is evil. If there is truth, there is falsehood. Okay? This is what he's saying. If there is infinite, there is finite. So, and the interesting part is that both have a role to play. We shouldn't think that one is negative and one is positive. We want only the positives. It is true at our level. Morality is based on that. We don't want the others, but we want. But morality is only a stage. There is no morality in matter. There is no morality at the animal level. There is no morality in the plant life. Morality comes at the human level, and above mankind, above the mind, again no morality. Morality is something that intervenes in the middle of the thing. So moral ideas, we all go by moral ideas and we feel that that's the ultimate truth. Not at all. It's only something in between. Okay, so the world is a differentiated unity, a manifold oneness, not a constant attempt at compromise between eternal dissonances, not an everlasting struggle between irreconcilable opposites. Okay, so because the irreconcilable opposites start getting reconciled at the higher levels, you start seeing oneness, and the complete reconciliation takes place in the supermind. They are seen very clearly as two poles of the same vibration. Okay? So, an inalienable oneness generating infinite variety is its foundation and beginning. So, note that. So, let's see both foundation and beginning. Okay? An inalienable oneness generating infinite variety. What he is referring to here is the triple status of the supermind. He is referring to the triple status of the supermind. In the supermind, there are three layers. The first layer, total oneness. If you compare it to a sea, which is absolutely at rest, okay, no salt, no waves, nothing. Pure water, absolutely stable, no movement at all. So this is the oneness that he is talking about first, okay. Then waves start forming. How? That's another question. But the waves are beginning to form. The waves are the individual forms as well as the individual personalities. So now, if a yogi experiences the primal state of the first stage of the supermental triple status, he will feel that he is one with everything. Okay? Because the wave is beginning to form, but the oneness is more important than the form. Okay? His individuality he will sense, but it is not as important as the other one. In the second level, the waves are becoming clearer and clearer, and individuality is growing. The forms are growing. In the third level, the wave has become the more important thing, and the unity has gone into the background. If you are experiencing it, you will feel that I am true. It is true that I am part of the sea, but my individual form is more important than the sea. Sea is there in the background. The unity is there in the background. Then when it comes down to the overmind level, multiplicity becomes a fact. Okay? So that's what is referring to foundation and beginning. A constant reconciliation behind apparent division and struggle, combining all possible disparates for vast ends. So, why is he doing this? Because there is an intention, vast ends, in a secret consciousness and will, which is ever one and master of all its complex action, appears to be its real character in the middle. Okay, so, we'll have to look at this again. Okay, so, one thing is there, this oneness which is there, the oneness is also here. But how are you perceiving? There is another thing that he says elsewhere, we might as well introduce it here. There is a creation. There is a creation. That is to say, even before man was there, even before animals were there, before anything was there, only matter was created, before all the living creatures came in, there is a creation. Right from the highest level to the lowest level. Nobody to experience it. But this creation has to be experienced by somebody. So there has to be a knower. So the knower is at the highest level, God is a knower. At the lowest level, it begins with even the unicellular creature. And there is a world, okay? So that has to experience the physical world. So there is a creation which is to be known. There has necessarily to be a knower. And there is a connection between the knower and the known by knowledge. So these three things are there continuously at all the levels. But at the lowest level, total separation between knower and known. Okay? Then, what is the knowledge? Okay? At the lowest level, senses. Nature has given you senses. They are the means of knowledge, instruments of knowledge. As you keep coming higher and higher in consciousness, the senses increase, become more potent. You know more and more. Knowledge increases. The instruments of knowledge have increased. At our level, 5 senses. In the animal world, there are 1 sense, 2 senses, 3 senses, 4 senses, 5 senses. Now, the senses are the means of knowledge between these two. Okay? If you go even higher up, instruments of knowledge go on changing. Okay? At each level, at each world, the instrument of knowledge is different. It's easy to understand because suppose you want to go to the microscopic level, what is the instrument you will use? You will use a microscope. You can't use your eyes. You have to use a microscope. If you want to see the largest stars in the universe, you have to use a telescope. You have to change your instrument of knowledge. So at every level, if you want to know that, you have to use a different instrument of knowledge. In our world, the instruments of knowledge are the senses. You go above the mind, they are replaced by different subtle senses and intuition and drishti. These become the instruments of knowledge. You go to the highest level, identification. And that is interesting because at the highest level, the divine himself is the world. So no difference between knower and known, they become one. So it's like a pyramid. At the highest level, knower, known and knowledge. There is no knowledge at that level because knowledge is not needed. You are yourself the knower and the known. So that pyramid structure comes down and there is division between knower, known, and therefore knowledge is necessary. So this is what is reflected here. If you know this, then we'll understand what he's saying. Okay? An inalienable oneness generating infinite variety. At the highest level, foundation and beginning, inalienable oneness. Generating infinite variety is its foundation and beginning. A constant reconciliation behind apparent division and struggle, combining all possible disparities for vast ends. Okay? There is a meaning. The purpose of this is a vast end. There are intentions. End means motive. Okay? Intention. You can, in a secret consciousness and will, which is ever one and master of all its own complex action. So, it is not that the world has really become many, but behind this apparent many, there is a divine consciousness which is, Sriraubendu uses the words, it creates, it manifests and governs. So this is the divine who creates, or rather he sometimes uses the word conceives, okay, and then processes and finally governs everything here. So he is there at each level. At the highest level, conception is in the transcendent. Then he creates in the cosmos, he creates the cosmos, and in the cosmos he creates all the multiplicity. Okay. So if you go from our level to the cosmos, then you get the cosmic consciousness. You see the oneness more than anything else. Alright? So he's saying in the middle, it appears to be a real character in the middle. What? There is a conscious will which is ever one and master of all its own complex action. We must assume, therefore, that a fulfillment of the emerging will and consciousness and a triumphant harmony must be its conclusion. So the multiplicity that we see here is going towards unity, so it will surely consummate itself and become successful. That's what he's saying. It has not yet happened, but he's saying it will happen. Okay? The two are one. Categorical statement. The two are one. Spirit is the soul and reality of that which we sense as matter. Matter is a form and body of that which we realize as spirit. So, they are two ends of the same principle or same truth. And what is that? Satchidananda. Satchidananda, the highest level in its purity. Satchidananda, the lowest level, in an image form. In a representation, if you want. That's the truth. There is a photograph of the truth. You can put it that way also. Certainly, there is a vast practical difference. And on that difference, the whole indivisible series and ever-ascending degrees of the world existence are founded. Substance, we have said, is conscious existence presenting itself to the sense as object, so that on the basis of whatever sense relation is established, the work of world formation and cosmic progression may proceed. But there need not be only one basis, only one fundamental principle of relation immutably created between sense and substance. On the contrary, there is an ascending and developing series we are aware of another substance in which pure mind works as its natural medium and which is far subtler, more flexible, more plastic than anything that our physical sense can conceive of as matter. We can speak of a substance of mind because we become aware of a subtler medium in which forms arise and action takes place. We can speak also of a substance of pure dynamic life energy other than the subtlest forms of material substance and its physically sensible force currents. Spirit itself is pure substance of being, presenting itself as an object no longer to physical, vital and mental sense, but to a light of a pure spiritual perceptive knowledge in which the subject becomes its own object. That is to say, in which the timeless and spaceless is aware of itself in a pure spiritually self-conceptive self-extension as the basis and primal material of all existence. Beyond this foundation is the disappearance of all conscious differentiation between subject and object in an absolute identity. And there we can no longer speak of substance. So largely what we have discussed is only he's saying that. Okay, but I think it's worth going into each sentence because we have to understand the use of words. That's very important. The way he uses words is fascinating, absolutely. So now, first of all, he is telling you that they are the same. Now he is telling you there is a very practical difference. Certainly, there is a vast, not a small difference, vast difference between vast practical difference. Note the word practical, not essential. Practical difference. And on that difference, the whole indivisible series and ever ascending degrees of the world existence are founded. So, densest, slightly higher, less dense, less dense, less dense, absolutely subtle. So this is the world stare. In Savitri, he has got a chapter, World Stare. Okay, it's a stare like that. Okay. So, ever ascending series, the world exists are founded. Substance we have seen. Actually, I think even the next paragraph, next chapter also is the ascending series of substance. Okay. So he is already giving you a hint of that. Okay, so the ever ascending degrees of the world are founded. Substance, we have said, is conscious existence presenting itself to the sense as object. Okay, now let's understand this. He is using the word substance because substance is the generic word and the general word for everything from the subtlest to the lowest, the densest. So that is how you have to say substance. Okay, so substance, we have said, is conscious existence. When you use the word existence, it always means the subtlest of substance. Necessarily sat. Okay, so it is so subtle that some Indian philosophies say that there is no such thing as ether. It is so subtle that you can say there is nothing. So they don't speak of even ether. They begin only with air, fire, water, earth. Okay, but you can think of something which seems to be absolutely nothing. Okay, so, and towards the end he'll tell you that even the divine is actually substance. He's telling you here. Okay, certainly there is a vast practical difference, and on that difference, the whole indivisible series and ever ascending degrees of the world are founded. Substance, we have said, is conscious existence presenting itself to the sense as object, so that on the basis of whatever sense relation is established, the work of world formation and cosmic progression may proceed. Okay, there is we discussed this just now. There is a creation. There is to know it. There are sense relations. The knower and the known are related by senses. He is using the word sense. I am using the word instrument of knowledge. Okay, but when he is saying sense relation, he means that only. You have to sense what is there. The knower has to sense the known, to be known. Okay, so whatever sense relation is established, the work of world formation and cosmic progression may proceed. All the three have to be there. Conscious existence. Also note that this substance which is there at the highest level is conscious. That's why I tell the children, imagine a granite block, okay, which is conscious of itself. What is Satchidananda? If you want to picture Satchidananda to yourself, think of a granite block which is conscious of itself. It also has the power to mold itself into anything it wants. It can mold itself into any statue it wants. It can become Ganesh, it can become Shiva, it can become Vishnu, it can even become a picture, okay? It has got the power. And while it is doing that, it enjoys itself. That is Satchidananda. Now, replace this granite stone with the subtlest of substance. So then, this is what he is saying. And there is a relation between the two. The known and the knower. Okay, so it's conscious existence presenting itself to the senses object so that on the basis of whatever sense relation is established. Note, whatever sense relation is established. At one level, a relation established is that of the physical senses. Slightly higher, subtle senses. Slightly higher, drishti. You don't need subtle senses anymore. Little higher up, intuition. That becomes the instrument of knowledge. Even higher up, identity. So these are the instruments of knowledge at the higher level. Okay?
So where reason comes in this? Reason.
Reason is at our level. But reason is not a... Reason is not sense, na? Reason is that which actually starts interpreting the sense data. Would you call reason an instrument of knowledge? It's a process of...
Mind faculty.
Yeah, and processing the...
If reason by itself is there and the senses are not there, will you be able to get knowledge?
No.
Exactly. So the senses are the most important thing. And even reason there is very interesting. Actually, it is manas, the lowest physical mind, which interprets the senses. Okay? This is very interesting. You have to understand this very well. Because if the newborn baby, all his senses are working, doesn't understand one damn thing. He doesn't understand it's his mother. He doesn't understand the words he's speaking. He doesn't understand who his mother is. The words also he doesn't understand. Why? Because his brain has not yet been programmed to understand what is... The interpretative faculty is not there.
So the people who are in coma, they have all their senses they're not active, right?
The senses are not active.
Yes, but they're still perceiving.
But they have program.
Huh?
They have program.
Program?
Nearly, they are perceiving through subtle senses, not physical senses. When you are in coma, you are not using yours, but you are using your subtle senses. It's true. That very famous example is there, Anita Moorjani. Okay? If you see that video, you will see. She is fully conscious of everything, but her body is lying almost dead. But she is fully conscious. She tells her brother what he did to fly back to America. She tells the doctor what he told the nurse. Okay? And the doctor is stunned. How did you know? You were unconscious. She says, I know everything. He even called the doctor by his name. He is stunned. It's a very interesting video, that one. You can see that. Anita Moorjani. You may have seen it. Yeah. So they are using subtle senses. Subtle senses again, when you are dreaming, okay, you are seeing and you are hearing, but you are not using your eyes and your ears. So it is subtle senses.
And regarding knowledge coming only through the senses,
Yes.
that is not correct. Matlab, if by pure reason also, you can get knowledge just by pure thinking. On any subject, you contemplate on it, and it need not be dependent on the sense data. Otherwise,
It can go beyond senses. That's what Aurobindo says in, what is science? Science is exactly that. But it has to build on sense data. One example he gives in that I think pure existence, I don't remember now. But first you see the sun rising. Okay? That is sense knowledge. But it is wrong. Reason comes in and goes beyond the senses. Philosophical knowledge is reason. Okay? So you could say that some sort of knowledge.
It's possible directly
Yes.
reason itself.
So you could say that reason is also an instrument of knowledge. But it's very defective instrument of knowledge.
Extent, like to a certain extent, reason is a means of
Yeah.
knowledge. And then
Yeah. It's an instrument of knowledge above the manas, but below the higher mind.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
It's an instrument of knowledge. And he says that because philosophical reasoning, okay, yes, in many places he says this. First of all, there is spiritual knowledge. Then that spiritual knowledge has to be put into words. So reason comes in and you have philosophy. And then it degenerates into sense knowledge, which is science. He says this in several places. That which is spiritual knowledge cannot be put into words very often. So philosophy has to come in to put it into words, and reason also comes in there. So spiritual knowledge, rational knowledge, which is philosophy, and then finally sense knowledge, which is the lowest. So this is what he says.
here there is this quotation of Sri Aurobindo. Reason is the aid, reason is the bar.
Yeah, that's
Help or something.
at every level. It is there for everything. Ego is is the aid, and ego is the bar. For everything it is like that. The body, all the levels, at whichever level you go, that is first the aid, and when you go up, it becomes the bar. You have to go up. Okay, so substance, we have said, is conscious existence presenting itself to the sense as object, so that on the basis of whatever sense relation it goes on changing from each level is established, the work of world formation and cosmic progression may proceed. But there need not be only one basis, only one fundamental principle of relation immutably created between sense and substance. What he means is that the physical world, what we are using senses, that's not the only way. There are other sense relations possible. That's what we have just discussed just now. Reason also is one. Above the reason, drishti, and then if you go even higher up, intuition, subtle senses, drishti, intuition, and finally identification. They are all instruments of knowledge. Okay. The work of world formation may proceed. Okay. Then, so, but there need not be only one basis, only one fundamental principle of relation immutably created between sense and substance. On the contrary, there is an ascending and developing series. So that's what he's saying as it keeps going up. Okay. We are aware of another substance in which pure mind works as its natural medium, and which is far subtler, more flexible, more plastic than anything that our physical sense can conceive of as matter. Okay. Now this is interesting what he's saying. Far subtler, more flexible, more plastic than anything that our physical sense can conceive of. So, even matter, there is a subtle matter. Okay. Clouds are matter. It is matter, but subtle matter. But it is, thought is even more subtle. It is a substance. I think I told you about Jugalda, how Mother was saying that his thinking is so clear that the thoughts come out in form, but very well formed. If your thinking is unclear, it will be hazy forms that come out. Okay, so that's the substance he is talking about. So even your vital also has got substance. They have got color, form, shape, everything. Particularly colors are there in the vital substance. We say green with envy, we say red with anger. These are all true. Usually the violet also is there, bluish green. These are all the colors of the vital. Okay, so a yogi will be able to see you, and in your aura he will see the colors and say what sort of a person you are. At the highest level, that was what Mother was doing. There is no moral judgment, no spiritual judgment. Are you good or bad? No. Only seeing the color and saying you are ready, come. That Superman woman, she is taking people in, saying you are ready for this world, come in. And the others, their colors are different, you are not yet ready. You have to Still work a little more on yourself. Okay. Then, so we are aware of another substance in which pure mind works as its natural medium, and which is far subtler, more flexible, more plastic than anything that our physical sense can conceive of as matter. We can speak of a substance of mind because we become aware of a subtler medium in which forms arise. There you are. Thoughts are forms. And action takes place. We can speak also of a substance of pure dynamic life energy. Similarly, the vital also has got substance and dynamic life energy other than the subtlest forms of material substance. Subtlest forms of material substance. It is even subtler than the material substance. The subtlest is the cloud. Okay? But this is even water vapor. Okay? But this is even subtler than that. That's what he's saying.
Where he's speaking of he's saying we are aware of another substance in which pure mind works.
Yes.
The thought came to me that he may be having in his mind when he's writing this his experience with Lele. When he saw the thoughts concretely entering into his brain.
Yes. If you can see a thought, it has form. Exactly. Okay? Correct. So he's saying, similarly, dynamic life energy also has got, the vital also has got subtle forms of material substance, and it's physically sensible force currents. Okay? Physically sensible force currents. So, what would this be? Physically sensible force currents. Okay. Physically sensible.
In the nervous system, what we feel, probably that. In the nervous system, what we feel.
No, if you are very sensitive, you will be able to feel forces coming into you. Okay? So, someone's anger, someone's jealousy, someone's all these things. You will be able to sense. So that's what he's saying. Physically sensible force currents. Spirit itself is pure substance. There you are. Very categorical statement. Spirit itself is pure substance of being, presenting itself as an object no longer to physical, vital and mental sense, but to a light of a pure spiritual perceptive knowledge. Okay? So, spirit is using its own material to create forms so that it can enjoy what it is creating. So, that's what he's saying. Spirit itself is pure substance of being, presenting itself as an object, no longer to physical, vital and mental sense, but to a light of a pure spiritual perceptive knowledge, in which the subject becomes the object, its own object. That is to say, in which the timeless and spaceless is aware of itself in a pure, spiritually self-conceptive self-extension as the basis and primal material of all existence. Note the two words, self-conceptive and self-extension. There is, you could think of something which is absolutely condensed into itself. Okay, there's a condition where it is total oneness. There is no interest at all in seeing anything other than itself. It is completely. They use the word ghana. Okay, that's absolutely concentrated in itself. It is not aware of. It doesn't want to see anything else. That's a condition. But then it extends itself. The word extend, and this extension is also a form of conception. It creates conceptions, and within itself it is creating conceptions and making forms. They are through its conceptive power. Just like we have a concept, our imagination, we can also think of situations. So there also similarly, by its self-conceptive power, it is creating forms within itself. Its own substance. That's what he's saying. Nah? As the basis and primal material of all existence. Beyond this foundation is the disappearance of all conscious differentiation between subject and object in an absolute identity. And there we can no longer speak of substance. At the highest level, so subtle that substance is not there, and only everything is one. Satchidananda is one, Purusha Prakriti is one. Spirit and matter are also one. So you can't speak of anything.
So when we say we can no longer speak of substance, so it's like the unmanifest.
Yes, that's right.
What is called the ineffable or
Yes.
the Parabrahman.
Yeah. Ineffable can be even at a lower level, but you can't describe it in any way. But this at the highest level, total ineffability.
Can we see consciousness?
Not only consciousness, substance, force, ananda, all one. Okay? We can see how Sri Aurobido's language is so condensed. Okay? So that's why we have to go slowly, and each phrase is interesting. Here he has these two words, self-conceptive and self-extension. That's very interesting. The extension can be atomic and it can be continuous, unatomic. He uses these two words. And in the supramental world, the extension is unatomic. It's not broken up. It's an extension. But in matter, it is atomic extension. A broken extension. But there is a condition where there is no extension. That's the highest level. Total Satchidananda, unmanifest, completely like a black hole. It's got only consciousness and no creation at all. But it's full of light.
Sir, at the highest poise of Superman, is it also similar to what you are saying? It is also condensed.
I think Supermind has already got the potentiality of creation.
So it is okay. It is little.
This is above Supermind.
This is beyond even the Sat plane.
Yeah, that's right.
Here he has mentioned only three, physical, vital and mental. In the next chapter, after mentioning about the vital substance and the mental substance and vital substance, then he says the same substance can be there at the other higher four levels, the supramental, Anand, Chit and Sat. So that unmanifest is beyond even the Sat. The Sat world, it is beyond even that.